Everything you've been told about money is a lie. Since you were a small child, you've been misinformed about money by teachers, your parents, Hollywood, college professors, just about everyone else. Most of these people don't understand that what they're saying about money is all lies, because over time, they were deceived about money just like you. Before I tell you the secret truth about money, let me first expose the 3 most common myths about money that we've all been told.
Myth number 1.
The federal government creates all money.
Wrong.
The government does not create any money.
Myth number 2.
Banks loan out the deposits of savers.
Wrong.
Banks do not use the deposits of savers to issue loans.
Myth number 3.
We can all pay off our loans and live debt-free if we choose.
Wrong.
It's mathematically impossible for all of us to pay off our loans. The system is intentionally designed to keep us enslaved to endless debt from cradle to grave. And now, for the first time, you'll hear the secret truth of money that has been hidden from you for your entire life. All money is created when privately owned banks issue loans.
Again, all money is created when privately owned banks issue loans.
Millions of dollars are spent every day to hide the truth from you. All money is created when privately owned banks issue loans. It's not just the big banks in big cities that do this.
Even the small banks in your town with a drive-up window and time and temperature signs.
When a bank issues a loan to a borrower, it creates the money as numbers or digits in their computer. The banking industry collects hundreds of billions of dollars in interest payments every year for loaning out money they never had to begin with.
How debt money creation works is surprisingly simple.
First, a borrower signs a promise to pay. This document is called a promissory note, or note. A bank note is always an evidence of indebtedness. When the borrower signs this agreement, he or she agrees to repay the loan principal plus interest costs. After the promissory note is signed, the bank, through its computer, simply adds numbers to the borrower's checking account. The new numbers are the new money. When the borrower writes checks against the new numbers, he puts new money into circulation that never existed before. Let me be completely clear. The money, or numbers being loaned, did not exist before the promissory note was signed by the borrower.
This is 100% new money created as a bookkeeping entry in the bank's computer.
When the borrower pays back the original loan amount, called the principal, that money is extinguished. It no longer exists until another borrower takes out a loan. The interest collected as profit by the bank is not extinguished. Obviously, this system is at least completely deceitful, unjust, immoral, and destructive.
Why should anyone be allowed to loan out money they never had to begin with? There doesn't need to be debt for money to exist.
Why is everyone else required to work hard to earn money, while the banker gets paid a fortune to simply push a computer button, create new money, lend it, and put government, businesses, and individuals in debt? And isn't it wrong to evict a family from their home or take away their car because they didn't repay money that never really existed in the first place? If any normal person created digital money in a computer and collected interest for loaning it out, wouldn't they be immediately arrested and thrown in jail?
But we haven't even told you the worst problem with bank-created debt money.
The biggest problem is that forced borrowing puts us into involuntary economic servitude. It's also mathematically impossible for everyone to repay their loans. That's right. It's absolutely 100% impossible for all of us to get out of debt. Now, some individuals can, but collectively we cannot. Why? Because we cannot pay debt with debt and get rid of the debt. We can only transfer the debt. Therefore, the debt must constantly grow.
Remember, all money is created by private banks when they make loans. Only the loan principal is created as money. The interest is not created as money.
When loans are issued and debts incurred, only the principal amount is created as money. never the interest money. Keep in mind that all money is debt, not all debt is money. There's never enough money in existence for all borrowers to repay the principal amount plus the interest. So, where do borrowers get the money to repay the principal and interest fees?
There are only two possibilities.
1. The borrower must take out new loans to pay off the old loans. Or 2. The borrower must capture another person's loan principal in the process of commerce. This system creates a continuous shortage of money that keeps most people on an endless treadmill of work, borrowing, and stress. Government, business, schools, individuals, and others. Everyone is forced to struggle and compete with each other to capture existing loan principal in order to meet their costs of living, repay their debts, and to save. Think of it as 6 hungry dogs competing for 5 bones. One dog must always go hungry.
Think of it as a game of musical chairs with 5 people and only 4 chairs. The rules of the game guarantee that one person will lose because there simply aren't enough chairs for everyone.
In the present system of money created as loans, there's never enough money in existence to repay all the loan principal and interest. Unlike a game of musical chairs, the real-life consequences of loan defaults are sad and crippling. Families are broken and destroyed. Children are made homeless.
Property is taken.
Did you know that financial difficulties are the #1 cause of divorce? You might be asking,
Doesn't our government create all money?
no, our government doesn't create any money.
Where does the government get money for funding its growing and costly self?
From taxation and borrowing. When government taxes, it simply takes existing loan principal, money that was already created as a loan to a business or an individual. And when the government borrows, they get the vast majority of money as debt through private bank bond dealers. The money creation process for government debt is nearly identical to the way new money is created for consumer loans.
First, the government issues a promise to pay.
The bond dealer then holds the promise to pay as collateral. The government gets newly created money that was created in the bank's computer. To pay interest on this debt, government must collect more taxes or go even deeper into debt by borrowing even more money. Debt money ensures that our government and people are forever in debt servitude to the money creators and to ever-increasing debt and taxation from which there is no escape. Maybe now you understand why the government and private debt has grown far beyond the total money supply. Now in 2021, the total American public and private debt is near $85 trillion, while the total money supply, which is all debt, is only near $14 trillion.
But doesn't the Federal Reserve create the money?
Yes, sometimes the Federal Reserve creates new money, but only as debt. It's but a tiny amount of the overall money supply. It's important to know that the Federal Reserve is not government. It's a private corporation. It's 100% owned and controlled by its member banks. The U.S. courts have ruled countless times that the Federal Reserve is not part of the federal government, just like FedEx is not part of the government.
But doesn't the U.S. Treasury print the paper money and stamp all the coins?
Yes, our Bureau of Engraving and Printing prints the paper money, and our mints stamp the coins. But all these paper notes and coins are sold to the privately owned Federal Reserve Corporation for the cost of production. For example, the bank-owned Federal Reserve buys $100 notes from the U.S. Treasury for less than 25 cents each. The Federal Reserve banknotes they always show being printed are not available for direct delivery to the public. Only banks issue these notes and coins, not our government. The only way to get the notes and coins from a bank is to write a check for cash from your checking account. All money enters the checking system through the creation of loan principal when we borrow and go into debt.
You can now see that what we've said is true.
All money is created when privately owned banks make loans. Money creation is true for credit cards, car loans, home mortgages, business loans, and government debt. All borrowing. Strange, isn't it? Our American Congress has the authority to create money, but borrows money. Now, would you be in debt, ever need to borrow, or be short of money if you had the authority to create money?
Maybe now you can understand why over 95% of money exists only as numbers created in bank computers.
Let's hope there's never a computer glitch, hack, or long-term power outage to disrupt this vulnerable digital debt money system. Can we fight these unfair bank contracts in court? You'd sure think so. Contracts that are impossible to fulfill aren't enforceable or legal, right? And banks never disclose their debt money creation anywhere in their documents. Isn't that a deceptive trade practice, even fraud? Unfortunately, the courts refuse to hear this common sense challenge or to hear if forcing the American people and their government into debt is a violation of our 13th Amendment protection against involuntary servitude. Instead of protecting us from the banking parasites, the courts protect this evil debt-based money scam by allowing these fraudulent bank contracts to be enforced.
How did this happen?
Over the course of 140 years, Congress wrongfully relinquished its authority to create money to the banking industry, which switched our money from a debt-free wealth we owned to a debt we owe.
Now, if you could create money and everyone had to be in debt to you to get it, what would be your limitations?
This power gives banks control and influence in our national governance, the appointment of judges, financial and bankruptcy law, media, public school curriculum, college-level economics courses, publishing, and on and on. They use this power to keep their debt money scam going and to deceive everyone about how all money is created and put into circulation as unpayable interest-bearing debt. Debt that increases your cost of living, reduces the purchasing power of your money, and makes saving extremely difficult. Less than 1 in a million people understands how money is created as unpayable debt by private banks.
So, how do we fix this huge train wreck of a mess?
Spread the knowledge, spread the word to everyone.
Send a link to this video to everyone you know on social media.
Most people, once they understand how money is created, agree that the system is at least unfair and immoral and should be changed immediately. Debt freedom is the most unifying and inclusive issue in America and the world today. It transcends all other issues of the day. It's why the banking industry spends millions of dollars and time and effort to keep us pitted against one another, deceived, confused, distracted, and in the dark about their evil debt-based money creation scam. They know that if everyone finds out how the scam works, we'll all join forces and demand a return to the principle of debt-free money.
The easiest way to fight for change is to simply know and speak the money truth. Help inform your fellow Americans about the evils of creating money as debt.
The other action you can take right now is to contact your representatives in Congress. Tell them to support the solution. It's called the American Transportation Act. The American Transportation Act transitions America from bank-created debt money to debt-free money, spent into circulation as an earned payment for producing and maintaining public roads and bridges in place of taxation or borrowing. The American Transportation Act abolishes the Federal Reserve, removes the need for fuel and axle taxes, ends the income tax, and more. The American Transportation Act is the fastest, most direct solution because it uses existing congressional powers authorized in the U.S. Constitution to create money, provide roads, and to promote the general welfare.
Congress has the power to make the transition without wasting any time amending the Constitution or attempting to reform a destructive, enslaving system.
The American Transportation Act was presented to all 535 congressional members, the President and Vice President in February 2021. Call your representatives now. Demand they support the ATA. Read, download, or print the American Transportation Act at debtfreemoney.org. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for helping to restore American liberty, justice, and prosperity.
Thank you for helping to break the bonds of debt and involuntary servitude.